A clock face or dial is the part of an analog clock, or watch, that displays the time through the use of a fixed numbered dial or dials, and moving hands. In its most basic form, recognized throughout the world, the periphery of the dial is numbered 1 through 12, indicating the hours in a 12-hour cycle, and a short hour hand makes 2 revolutions in a day. A longer minute hand makes 1 revolution every hour. The face may also include a seconds hand which makes 1 revolution per minute. The term is less commonly used for the time display on digital clocks and watches. A single hand watch. A second type of clock face is the 24-hour analog dial, widely used in military and other organizations that use 24-hour time. This is similar to the 12-hour dial above, except it has hours numbered 124 around the outside, and the hour hand makes only 1 revolution per day. Some special-purpose clocks, such as timers and sporting event clocks, are designed for measuring periods less than 1 hour. Clocks can indicate the hour with Roman numerals or Hindu-Arabic numerals, or with non-numeric indicator marks. The 2 numbering systems have also been used in combination, with the prior indicating the hour, and the later the minute. Long case clocks, grandfather clocks, typically use Roman numerals for the hours. Clocks using only Arabic numerals first began to appear in the mid-18th century. The periphery of a clock's face, where the numbers and other graduations appear, is often called the chapter ring. The clock face is so familiar that, particularly in the case of watches, the numbers are often omitted and replaced with undifferentiated hour marks. Occasionally markings of any sort are dispensed with, and the time is read by the angles of the hands. The face of the Moffedou Museum watch is known for a single dot at the 12 o'clock position. Most modern clocks have the numbers 1 through 12 printed at equally spaced intervals around the periphery of the face, with a 12 at the top, indicating the hour, and on many models, 60 dots or lines evenly spaced in a ring around the outside of the dial, indicating minutes and seconds. The time is read by observing the placement of several hands which emanate from the center of the dial. A short, thick hour hand. A long, thinner minute hand, and on some models, a very thin sweep seconds hand. All the hands continuously rotate around the dial in a clockwise direction, in the direction of increasing numbers. The sweep hand moves relatively quickly, taking a full minute, 60 seconds, to make a complete rotation from 12 to 12. For every rotation of the sweep hand, the minute hand will move from 1 minute mark to the next. The minute hand rotates more slowly around the dial. It takes 1 hour, 60 minutes, to make a complete rotation from 12 to 12. For every rotation of the minute hand, the hour hand will move from 1 hour mark to the next. The hour hand moves slowest of all, taking 12 hours, half a day, to make a complete rotation. It starts from 12 at midnight, makes 1 rotation until it is pointing at 12 again at noon, then makes another rotation until it is pointing at 12 again at midnight of the next night. In the example picture, showing a 2-handed clock, the minute hand is on 14 minutes, and the hour hand is moving from 12 to 1. This indicates a time of 12:14. Historical development. 15th century rotating dial clock face, St. Mary's Church, Gdańsk, Poland. Clocks existed before clock faces. The first mechanical clocks, built in 13th century Europe, were striking clocks. Their purpose was to ring bells upon the canonical hours, to call the public to prayer. These were erected as tower clocks in public places, to ensure that the bells were audible. It was not until these mechanical clocks were in place that their creators realized that their wheels could be used to drive an indicator on a dial on the outside of the tower, where it could be widely seen. Before the late 14th century, a fixed hand, often a carving literally shaped like a hand, indicated the hour by pointing to numbers on a rotating dial. After this time, the current convention of a rotating hand on a fixed dial was adopted. Minute hands, so named because they indicated the small or minute divisions of the hour, only came into regular use around 1690, after the invention of the pendulum and anchor escapement increased the precision of time telling enough to justify it. St. John the Evangelist, Groombridge, Kent, has a fine example of a clock with only an hour hand. In some precision clocks a third hand, which rotated once a minute, was added in a separate subdial. This was called the second minute hand because it measured the secondary minute divisions of the hour, which was shortened to second hand. The convention of the hands moving clockwise evolved in imitation of the sundial. In the northern hemisphere, where the clock face originated, the shadow of the gnomon on a horizontal sundial moves clockwise during the day. This was also why noon or 12 o'clock was conventionally located at the top of the dial. French 10-hour clock. French decimal time. During the French Revolution in 1793, in connection with its republican calendar, France attempted to introduce a decimal time system. This had 10 decimal hours in the day, 100 decimal minutes per hour, and 100 decimal seconds per minute. Therefore the decimal hour was more than twice as long, 144 minutes, as the present hour. The decimal minute was slightly longer than the present minute, 86 seconds, and the decimal second was slightly shorter, 0.86 seconds, than the present second. Clocks were manufactured with this alternate face, usually combined with traditional hour markings. However, it didn't catch on, and France discontinued the mandatory use of decimal time on the 7th of April, 1795, although some French cities used decimal time until 1801. Stylistic development. Until the last quarter of the 17th century, hour markings were etched into metal faces, and the recesses filled with black wax. Subsequently, higher contrast and improved readability was achieved with white enamel plaques painted with black numbers. Initially, the numbers were printed on small, individual plaques mounted on a brass substructure. This was not a stylistic decision, rather enamel production technology had not yet achieved the ability to create large pieces of enamel. The 13-piece face was an early attempt to create an entirely white enamel face. As the name suggests, it was composed of 13 enamel plaques, 12 numbered wedges fitted around a circle. The first single-piece enamel faces, not unlike those in production today, began to appear c. 1735. It is customary for modern advertisements to display clocks and watches at 10:10, or thereabouts, as this V-shaped arrangement roughly makes a smile, imitates a human figure with raised arms, and also leaves the watch company's logo unobscured by the hands.